I knew you was coming, I'd bake the bunt.
Do what?
If I knew you were coming, I would have baked a bunt.
Like a bundt cake?
Yeah. They don't advertise that anymore. Sure that table ain't gonna fall over?
Yeah. Alright, so that should be good if you stay in that spot.
Don't give away any of my game secrets.
I didn't record it. Your game. Let's see. We've already got through a poll.
Joshua wants me to use a PM, and he wants to send them in pictures of them to these game companies.
Uh-huh.
I said, I don't know whether I want to do that or not. Yeah, I think you'll have a good job. He said, I think you will have a whole bunch of people wanting them. And I said, I don't think so.
How did you and Mom first meet?
At church.
Can you go into a little more detail with that?
She was coming. I was already out of the church there at the front door, and she came out, and a voice in my head said, "She's the one."
What was your first impression of her?
She's pretty.
What?
Pretty much it.
What was it about her that made you fall for her?
Her money.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I really don't. I don't think I ever gave it a thought. On one reason or another. Just that she just went to church. We hit it off all right. She didn't talk as much as she does now. So other than that, that was pretty much it.
And then this is kind of similar to the last question. Was there a moment that you knew that you wanted to marry Mom?
Yeah, as soon as I heard the voice say she's it. I've been praying and asking for somebody. And when she walked out, I heard him say, "That's it. That's her right there." And I was sold on that. I said, okay. I asked her out, and then we went a few places together and went to church. And then we got married.
How did you propose?
Can't remember. Cannot remember to save my life.
Do you remember like how you felt when you proposed?
No.
Did you guys plan your own wedding?
She did. She did it all. I just kind of stepped back and said, okay, do it whatever way you want to do it. I said, if you want a big one, have a big one. If you want a small one, have a small one. I said, I don't care one way or the other. I said, I already had a big one.
How did you feel on your wedding day?
Maybe a little bit nervous, but not that much. I was more tired and happy it was over. All the stuff that we did, you had the rehearsal dinner and setting stuff up and everything else. It just, I never make it through it now. I go sit down someplace and say, you do it. I'll pay somebody to do it for me.
How did you feel when each of your kids were born?
I got another one.
What about your first child, Matt? How'd you feel whenever you first found out you were going to be a dad?
I was thrilled when I found out it was going to be a boy. I'd always thought that boys should be the first one. That way they watch over the little sister. That's the way I looked at it. I said, I don't see an older sister looking over the brother. So I was happy it started out with a boy. Then Sarah came along. You used to call her Sarah Beth. She said, I don't like Sarah Beth. My name is Sarah Elizabeth. I said, it may be Sarah Elizabeth, but I'm going to call you Sarah Beth. That's not fair. I said, tough luck. She was a fight. She was as cheaty as the Dickens. Of course, you overcome that.
Not me.
Yes, you. You're way ahead of her. She's kind of settled down. You're still going. Is that all?
No, I was just letting you talk.
Yeah.
How'd you feel whenever I was born? Thrilled?
Time you get to number 5 is just another child.
Kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
So, whenever you first found out that you were going to be a dad, were you scared?
No. I was thrilled.
Did you originally think that you would have 5 kids?
No.
How many did you originally want?
2 would have been fine. Maybe 3. And I was done.
What were some other names that you had for each of us? You can start with Matt and go down to me.
Matt. It was always going to be Matt. Because we was picking out Bible names, and his is Matthew Jacob. And then come along with Sarah, and Elizabeth is in the Bible. So that's Sarah Elizabeth.
Those were the first names?
Yep. My other daughter's name I had picked out was Amanda Michelle.
I don't like that one as much.
Shelley didn't like Amanda Michelle. I said, well, if I name her, that's what she's going to be named. You like it or not. Other than that, that's Dalton is named after. Mom come out with his name because she was named. She wanted somebody named after her side of the family.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Dalton come from. Joshua, we got that from the Bible. Curtis was in a C middle name. I said, well, I'm not going to give him Carl. I said, there's 2 Carls in a row in our family. I said, I'm not giving him Carl because I hate Carl.
So did you intentionally give Josh your same initials?
No, I just liked Curtis. And Joshua was my 3rd favorite Bible name. I could have named him Moses.
I wish you would have named him Moses.
Moses Augustus. That'd been a heck of a name.
Moses Augustus, the redhead.
And then Hughes, it's named after my mom. Same initials, basically same name.
Alma Aline.
Mm-hmm. That's her first, well, that was her middle name, really.
Now, I know you had other names that you had for me. I don't know about the others, but I remember one of you guys saying Nicole was another name that you'd thought about for me.
Well, we already had a Nicole in the family on Uncle Harold's side.
Mm-hmm.
One of his daughters' middle name is Nicole. Of course, he's got another daughter named Sharon. So,
Okay, the next one is tell me a story about the day that each of your kids were born, if you can.
One of the days, the nurse let me in. Oh, that was Sarah. They let me in to see her right after she was, I think, right after she was born, I think. Oh, wait a minute. It was her when Travis was born. Because I drove all day to come home. And I think Sarah said that she wasn't going to have the baby till I got there. And as soon as I got there and found out I was there, she said, okay. She had the baby, and she let me see him. I saw him, and I think I held him. Then I went to the lobby, and I fell asleep.
That sounds like you.
No, I was tired. I mean, I was down in, I think, somewhere down in Texas. I was in Texas when Dad died.
So, how did you feel the first time you held your grandson?
Elijah?
No,
Or
your
Travis?
first one.
I forget. I can't remember how I felt. It's been a long time ago. I can't. Some things I just can't remember anymore.
Does becoming a grandparent feel much different than becoming a parent?
Oh, yes. You can do things as a grandparent that you couldn't when you was a parent.
Like what?
Because you can do things and then send them home with their parents. That's what my mom and dad used to say. My parents spoiled Matt and Sarah rotten. We could get up from the kitchen table, have a big meal, and go over there, and the first words out of their mouths was from my mom and dad, "Are you hungry?" And of course, my kids would always say, "Yeah, we're hungry." And my mom and dad would say, "Don't you ever feed them?" I said, "Mom," I said, "we just got up from the kitchen table and went straight over here." I said, "And they ate home." Well, I just don't understand why they'd be hungry. I said, "Because you're grandma and grandpa, that's why. They know they can come over here and snap their finger and you're going to jump." I said, "They got you wrapped around their little finger." I think Dad had every variety and flavor of baby food over there. Because when I think Sarah was little, he'd go in there and that one white cabinet over there where the refrigerator was, he had that daggum thing. He must have had 30 of them in there. He said, "Well, she likes this, she likes this, I got this, and I got that." Think, Atlantic Ocean, Dad, what'd you do? Buy the store out? "Well, yeah, you never have enough." I said, "Okay." So he'd feed her whatever kind of baby food she liked. So,
As kids, what is something that frustrated you about each of us?
Joshua was always, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Cuddled by Mom. She wouldn't let him stand on his own 2 feet. You was, like I said, mischievous.
What did I do that was mischievous?
Everything and anything. Some things you do just like Sarah, and remind me of Sarah. But don't ask me what it was. Sarah used to sit in the back seat of the car, in the middle, and Matt would sit to the right. And I guess she didn't think I was smart enough, because she'd sit back there and she'd poke him or whatever else she do. And he'd say, Sarah's hurting me or Sarah's poking me. No, I'm not, Dad. And it's go on another time. But the third time I got my rear view mirror cocked where I could see her. I said, and Matt yelled, she's still poking me. And she'd say, no, I am. No, I'm not. I said, yes, you are. I said, I just got done watching you. How could you do that? I said, it's called a rear view mirror. I said, I turn it wherever I want to. I can look in the back seat, and guess what I was looking at? You. I said, don't kill me, Timmy.
What was frustrating about Dalton?
Oh. Well, maybe that he didn't always listen. He wanted to do his own thing, whether it got him in trouble or not. Oh, I know what bothered me with Matt and Sarah was. I'd come home from work and Matt, both their bedrooms just nothing but covered in toys everywhere. You couldn't take a step without tripping over a dozen of them. And Shelley would say, I've been asking them to clean up their room. They won't do it. It's okay. So I walk in there and Sarah's got all of her Barbie dolls, clothes, and accessories all over the floor, all over the bed. I said, you clean up your mess and you do it now. And I walked into Matt's room and his was just as bad. I said, clean up this bedroom before I get back, and I'm going to be back pretty soon. Okay. I walked back in there 5 minutes later. His room's spotless. Hers, she hasn't even touched yet. I said, Matt, you picked up all those toys? Yeah. So I look underneath the bed. That's where all the toys was at. I said, where'd you put your toys at? I'll put them back where I got them at. I said, oh, really? Underneath the bed? Oh, how'd you know they were in there? I said, that's the first place a person looks, is underneath the bed. So I went in there and told Sarah, I said, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes. I said, if you don't have it cleaned up, I said, I'm going to spank your ass. And she knew I would because I'd done it before. 5 minutes later, she had it all cleaned up, spotless. I said, yeah, you could have done that right off the bat, but you didn't want to.
As kids, what's something that each of us did that you loved?
Matt was always kind of a happy-go-lucky boy. Sarah, she was fun-loving. She liked to do things. Some things she liked to do is like Matt. They'd do it together. And Dalton, it was just kind of refreshing, I guess. Joshua, he could be loving and, cuddling and soft-spoken. He could be fun to be around if he let you. You was always right behind him. Whatever they did, you was right in there with them. Whether you thought you could or not, you was going to do it. Like climbing up that rope ladder. I said, there's no way you're going to do that. You could walk right back up there. I said, by God, she did do it. And the other two was still trying to get halfway up. You was already up. But you was always trying to overdo them. I remember right. Joshua, he's just stubborn. Some days you can't tell him nothing for anything. You try to help him and he don't want to be helped. He wants to pay people to do it for him. Like, I don't want to be a millionaire, and I just have people do it. And I said, that's fine. I said, but time you pay everybody, I said, you ain't gonna be a millionaire very long. I said, million doesn't go as far as it used to 20, 30 years ago. I said, if you handle your money right, I said, you can live off the interest. I said, but if you're going to pay everybody to come out and flush your toilet and wash your windows and build a shed or a dog house or a fence or something, or work on your car, if you have, ones that you know how to work on. I said, but these new ones, I can understand you not knowing how to do it, but there are some things you can still do on your own, like change the spark plugs, change the oil, change the antifreeze. I said, but you want to pay somebody to do that. I said, with your plumbing in your house. I said, it doesn't take a graduate degree to know how to fix your water line. I said, but you want to pay somebody? I said, right now it's probably $30 some odd an hour. I said, do you think they're going to come out and first thing they're going to do is jump right on there and get that fixed just as fast as they can? No. I said, they're going to come out, look at it. So, okay, well, we got to go get some supplies, drive all the way into town. I said, guess who's paying for all that? You are. And then they're going to come back. Then they'll go on lunch break. Guess who's paying you for that? You are. It's all coming out of your pocket. Same way with carpentry. I said, you're paying another $25, $30 an hour. And they're doing the same thing the daggum plumbers are doing. I said, so far between the plumbing and your carpentry, you're paying out $60 some an hour. And you think they're going to get that done in one day? No, I said, they'll horse around, dilly-dally around for 3 days or more. I said, so now you're paying out $180 for the 3 days for 8 hours. That's over $1,000. I said, it's coming out of your pocket. I said, you can do this all for nothing if you do it yourself. I said, true. I said, you got to pay for the supplies and the lumber and the water pipe, but that water pipe is cheap. I said, so is the lumber. I said, but you're doing it for free because you're doing it yourself. But if you don't want to learn how to do that, nope, I'm not mechanically inclined. I said, you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be. I said, you just talk yourself out of it. I said, go ask Matt. Matt would tell him the same thing. He says, yeah, he said, I used to be like that. He said, but just from helping Dad and watching him, he said, I learned how to do it. I said, I'm happy I did. And he's using it now, stuff that I taught him.
Yeah. Move this. There's like a glare on your glasses.
Oh. That's what she said.
You're sick.
I know. I'm hanging around by the youngest daughter.
No, whatever. I'm an angel. Let me see if that's... There's still a little glare, but it's better.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the hardest thing about raising children and becoming a parent?
Patience. Lots and lots of patience. And lots of knowledge. So you could tell them, what the best way to doing stuff and how to do it. Stuff like that. Pretty much it.
Do you have a memorable story about each of your kids?
Just with the clubhouse, with you guys playing on it. That's pretty much it. I remember when I was married the first time, Aunt Sarah. I mean, in this big old giant sandbox out there. It was about wider than that table was, about 8 foot by 8 foot square. I filled it up with sand. And I had bought him bulldozers and dump trucks and such. And he'd go out there for hours. Him and Sarah both would play in that sand. And every time they stopped us when he go in to eat, because it was right there at the front of the house, so she'd go out, call them in, and they'd dust themselves off, go in and eat. As soon as they got in, right back out to the sandbox again. They'd stay there pretty much the entire darn day. Dalton, what was the question again? I already forgot.
Memorable stories.
Oh, there's so many of them. The time I told him don't drive fast on rock, I said because you'll flip the car or flip off into the ditch, and he didn't listen. And he was over there on one of those county roads talking to one of his friends. And he had a job interview at 4 o'clock. Well, about 5 minutes till, he decided, oh, I guess I better go. So he took off, driving like a bat out of hell, hit that loose gravel and flipped the car upside down the ditch. I said, smooth move there, X-Lax. I said, going a little bit fast, was you? Well, didn't think I was going that fast. I said, apparently you was. I said, because it's not that easy to flip a car upside down into a, 5-10 foot ditch. I said, anyway, I said, why was you leaving so late for? I said, didn't you have an interview at 4? Yeah, well, he said, time got away from me. I said, if you'd went on, I said, first of all, you shouldn't have been out there visiting with one of your friends when you have a job interview. I said, then at 5 minutes till, you're already going to be late. So what's the point of driving fast? I said, you ain't going to save any time. I said, the only thing you've accomplished is pretty well tore up your car. I said, and guess what? I'm not buying you another one. I said, if you want one, you can save up for it. I said, because that is just total stupidity. Let's see. Josh. We was down at, wasn't Cabin Rock. It was one of them places around Cabin Rock. Might have been Pounds Hollow or Dixon Springs or somewhere in there. And we was eating. And Josh was having fun with one of his toys. And somebody, I think, took it away from him or something. He come crying up to Mommy. Grandma was there, and between the two of them, they comforted him, made him feel better. And after that, he was all fun and dandy. You, I guess your wedding day. I said, I can't believe she's getting married. My baby girl. Last of the 5. Anything else?
I was just letting you talk. Let's see. What is your hope for your children and grandchildren?
I hope my children do better than I did. They learn more than I did. They have better knowledge than what I did. And they could pass it on to their children and so on and so forth. I hope my grandchildren learn from their fathers and mothers, and they could pass it on. And each one getting better at learning how to do stuff. Because times are changing, Things we did 30 years ago you cannot do now because of the technology. So learn where I have failed and go get them. Don't let people knock you down without getting right back up again. Because that's what life is. It's a big game. That's what I told Dalton, I think last night. Oh, it was Joshua. I guess it might have been Joshua. I said, Josh, I said, life is a game. I said, you don't know what it's going to throw at you. Nobody does. I said, you wake up every morning that you didn't do the day before and may never have a chance to do again. You may have something that works fine one day and it breaks down the next day. I said, you don't know that. You have no control over it. I said, God has a sense of humor. I said, so you got to go with the flow. I said, don't put yourself down just because nobody else does. Or not that other people do. Don't let it settle into you that you get depressed. I said, because tomorrow may be even worse, maybe even better. I said, so you get knocked down, you bounce right back up again and say, okay, let's go. I'm ready for round 2. Okay, next.
Okay, so these are historical events. Did you see the lunar landing?
On the first one, on the moon?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
On TV?
Yeah.
You weren't there in person?
No. I saw most of them.
What was it like?
It was entertaining. It left some questions because I kept thinking, now they have a camera on the astronaut, and the astronaut's supposed to be taking his first steps. How'd the camera get on the moon to film him coming down for the first steps? The second one was, how come the flag all of a sudden blows? It moves. You know.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've heard that one before. They've got a lot of theories.
Yeah.
How did you feel during 9/11?
I'm thinking, you done fucked up, boys. I said, apparently you didn't read up on your history of Japan. So that's what they did, sneak attacked. I said, guess what happened to them? They got nuked. I said, you don't fuck with us. They're going to fuck you up one side and down the other side and laugh all the time they're doing it. I said, you done stepped on the wrong feet.
You're talking about 9/11?
Yeah. When the terrorists ran into the Twin Towers, yeah.
Oh. For a second, I thought you were talking about Pearl Harbor.
No, I wasn't there for Pearl Harbor.
I didn't think so.
That's about 10 years before my time.
Yeah. Were there any other moments in American history that you'll never forget?
Kennedy being assassinated. I watched that.
Were you watching it like live, like his driving through there?
No, because I was in school. I was
okay.
like first grade and they broadcast it. And then we watched it happen.
Mm.
Watched the funeral. It was a long one. They put him on that caisson. That was from Civil War, I found out or learned. And it used to transport this big giant cannon. And they converted it to this. There's only been like 3 presidents who's used it. Reagan was the last one to do it. Before that was might have been Nixon. And before that it was Kennedy. I think that's it. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, I guess there's Hurricane Katrina. That was like that first big hurricane that hit Louisiana.
Oh, I'm not really into hurricanes. I'm more into maybe volcanoes, and I'm really not that much into them.
That's more Mom's forte. Disasters.
Oh,
Just maybe not real life ones on TV.
yeah.
Okay, is that all you have on historical events?
Well, let's see. I remember Nixon resigning as president. I remember all the vice presidents he had. He had like 2 or 3. He had Agnew. He was, I think, the governor of New Hampshire. And they was going to indict him, I think, on fraud or something like that. Or embezzlement or something. I can't think. It's something to do with his office. And his slogan was, this was in 72 or 73, somewhere in that area. And he was going to run in 76. And he was going by Spiro of 76 instead of Spirit. Spiro of 76. Well, he resigned too. He resigned. And then they brought in Nelson Rockefeller. He was the second one. And he resigned, I think, because I'm thinking health reasons or something. I can't remember. And after that, he got Ford. And then Nixon resigned because of all of the hidden tapes. And they said he really did something really stupid. First of all, he had his compadres break into the Democratic offices to find out about the guy running against him on the Democratic side, to see what they could find to use against him. And they said Nixon was going to win by a landslide no matter what. He said that was stupid in itself. And he said then they come back to the main office, and they start talking about it, and they have it on tape. He said that's the next stupid idea they had. And then, on top of that, when Congress asked for the tapes, he has his private secretary go through them and edit it, bleep some of the stuff out that was incriminating. He said he did 3 stupid things that they were going to hold against him. He wasn't going to get reelected. He wasn't going to stay in office. So he had nothing else to do but resign. That's what he did. And Gerald Ford, first thing Gerald Ford does when he gets in the office.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He exonerates Nixon.
Oh.
He pardons him. No prison term, no nothing. Nixon had to give up his, he couldn't practice law anymore. He couldn't hold any kind of federal, I don't think, any federal jobs or anything like that. Basically said, okay, bye. He got on his helicopter and off he went.
That's handy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else on that?
Not on Nixon. Jimmy Carter, he was He grew peanuts down in Georgia. And he wasn't the dumbest president, but he wasn't the brightest president either. He was a good economist, I think, if I remember right. He left the budget in balance. But when the guys got taken over there in the Middle East, when their helicopters all crashed because it sucked up sand into their engines, and they went, well, Carter tried his best to get them out, all the way up into the time that they was going to swear in Reagan. Carter stayed up late into the night trying to reach a deal to get them out. Well, they decided, no, we want to mess with Reagan. Bad idea. You didn't fuck with Reagan. Reagan was the second coming of Truman. Give him hell, Harry, was his slogan. Well, same thing with Reagan. Gaddafi, he was the president of Syria, I think. And him and Reagan was always having at it because they was in a terrorist state. Gaddafi said, go ahead, cross that line, I kill you. What's Reagan do? Steps across the line. Okay, now what? Well, you do cross this line, I kill you. Okay, steps over the line. So Reagan says, okay, now what? Cross this line, I kill you. Reagan goes over there and bombs a little bit piss out of him. Never heard another word from Gaddafi after that. Shut him up real quick. I stepped across the line 3 times. What was you waiting on? Yeah, tired of messing with you. I just blow the hell out of you. He dropped bombs, missiles, everything that they had at him. Didn't have hardly a building standing more than about a foot tall when Reagan got done with him. His countrymen pretty much kicked him out of office, ended up killing him, beheaded him, I think. I heard. So Reagan is probably my second favorite president behind Lincoln. And no, I wasn't around with Lincoln either.
What was it like back then?
He had a long funeral. He outdone Kennedy by 3 days.
Yeah, he did a lot.
Well, they put him on a train. They put him in this, I think he had a copper coffin. That had it open for viewing. You could see him. They show pictures. I had some pictures on YouTube of him, and he's buried underneath. If you go into the rotunda, that big wooden thing was sitting right there. That's where Lincoln is buried at, right down.
Mm-hmm.
And he's buried in solid concrete, so he ain't going nowhere. That's because of his son. They kept wanting to. Well, they did take his body, or they was attempting to. And nothing was going where Murphy's Law kicked in. Nothing went right. They got caught. So his son said, okay, I'll fix that. So they put him in a solid concrete vault. No way in, no way out. And that's where they say he's buried at, right underneath that His wife's in the wall. All these kids are in the wall except for one. He's not there. He's buried someplace else. What are you looking at?
I told you I have to check it every so often to make sure it's still recording. You ready for the next step?
Yes.
I was just waiting for you. You was talking about your history. We know how you love your history. Okay, so this next part is about your family tree. How did your parents meet?
How did my parents meet? I have no idea. They never said. All I know is that Dad was married 3 times. Mom was the 3rd one. Didn't learn that until we was going through these papers, and Bob discovered it.
Was he just secretive, or?
I guess.
Okay.
He said Mom didn't know how to cook because she'd always cooked on a propane stove. Well, Dad had an electric stove, so she had to learn all over again. With electric, you have to take it off early because that burner's going to stay hot. And she was always burning stuff, but she got good at it.
Good at burning stuff?
No, with cooking. She ended up being a pretty good cook. But no, I have no idea how they met.
What were they like?
Direct opposite of me.
What do you mean by that?
Mom was feisty if she wanted to be. If she said something, you better be listening, because she wouldn't tell you the second time. Dad was more laid back. He'd say, whatever she says, fine with me. You do whatever she tells you to do. You better do it. Well, then he'd step in. He didn't step in that often. I made this foolish choice of doing this to my mom one time. Dad he was up at the barber shop, and Mom called him and told him what I'd done. And it took him about 30 minutes to come home because he had finished cutting the hair of all the patrons that were there. And he come home and took off his belt and whipped me. He said, don't you ever raise your hand to your mom again. It's okay. And I didn't either. Bob, on the other hand, got plenty of whippings. Dad escorted him from across the street. Because Dad's motto was, when the street lights come home, either you're in our yard or the neighbor's yard next to us, which was Mark Fisher's at the time, where the man and woman and their 2 sons are now. Yeah. Okay, that was Mark Fisher's house. And he hung around. He was the same age as Bob. And we were all 3 kind of together. So, one night, streetlights come home on. I was in the yard. Dad said, where's your brother at? I said, he ain't here. Where's he at? Across the street in the schoolyard. He said, okay.
You rat.
You didn't lie to my dad. So Dad walked all the way around behind the school where the cafeteria was. Found Bob, grabbed a hold of his ass, whipped him, said, okay, let's go. So he grabbed his bicycle, had to carry the bicycle all the way home with him. Got home. My dad said, okay, now what are you supposed to do? Be in our yard or neighbor's yard. He said, you want to let it happen again? No. He didn't either. After that, he was the first one home. 3.
Oh, like the garland? Or the icicles?
Oh, the limbs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just swept over there. I didn't find them the other day. I looked down and said, where in the hell did this come from?
The glare's a little better, except for
Oh.
when you look up like that.
Well, then I won't look up.
Okay. Could your parents not have kids of their own?
Mom couldn't.
Why?
She'd had too many. Her stomach looked like craters.
Mm-hmm.
She had about half a dozen of them. She had I can't remember whether she had a hysterectomy or not. But I know she couldn't have kids, so they adopted.
Do you have any memories, good or bad, of Grandma and Grandpa?
You're talking about my parents, right?
Yeah.
I got a lot of memories from them.
Okay.
The time that Dad brought over the pigs. I guess he didn't think I had something else to do. He come over with his truck on one of his days off, which was Sundays and Wednesdays. He pulled up and said, "Come here, come here, come here." I said, "Okay, Dad." And I went out there and he has this little pig in there. I said, "What the same hell am I supposed to do with that?" "Well, you little pigs." I said, "Not live pigs. I'm talking about figurines." "Oh, well, you've now got a live pig." I said, "So what am I supposed to do with it?" "Well, I don't know. You'll find something." Well, we had some old sheds out there, so I had to go out and board them all up and put the pig in there. Next thing I know, he's bringing me a second one. I said, "What is this? I just told you I don't want any more pigs." "Well, yeah, but that one there is awfully lonely by itself." "Okay, Dad." Well, then he quit doing that, and then he'd start coming up with all these projects. He'd come over and he'd start me on project number 1. Well, 3 days later, he'd be coming over again, and he'd start me on project number 2. Now, I haven't even hardly got started on number 1, and he's now got me on doing a second one. 2 days later, he's coming back, project number 3. I haven't got number 1 much farther than I did. Number 2, I haven't had time to do it because I'm still working on number 1. Now I've got 3. And next thing I know, he's got 5 projects for me to do all at once. And he has the gall say, "How come you haven't got any of them done?" I said, "Why don't you quit giving me projects to do?" I said, "I can only do so many so fast, Dad." "That's no excuse." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "I know a project you haven't finished." "No, I don't." I said, "Yes, you do." I said, "Out there at the farm, the corn crib, you extended it and you was going to make it all enclosed and fixed it where you could drop corn or hay down to the cows." I said, "What happened to that project?" I don't want to talk about it." I said, "No, you just want to talk about mine." I said, "You didn't finish that one." I said, "I'm sure I can find some more." I said, "So don't say much." And Mom, she made me, if I could not wear a green shirt with blue pants. She said, "They don't go together." She made me take the green shirt on and put another colored shirt on. I said, "What is this?" "Well, they don't go together." I said, "Look fine to me." "Look, who's older here?" I said, "You are." "What's that got to do with anything?" "Well, I know more about it than you do, or may ever know." Okay. And then I come out, we was going to church, and I had my little suit on, and I fell. Didn't tear up anything, I just fell. Mom says, back to the house. She made me put on a totally different outfit just because I fell on the dirt. And she was about like, no, it was like Dad. Possibly all 3 of us. We did not like, at that time we had Reverend Clodfeller, and he could talk and talk and talk and talk and talk in a sermon. And we hated getting there late, because you got there late, guess where you got to sit? Front row, right in front of his pulpit. And you felt like you'd look up and he'd be sitting there looking at you. I hated that, and I said, it's like he's giving you the stare contest. His sermon sometimes go an hour and a half, 2.5 hours long. I said, doesn't he ever shut up? Apparently not. We had him for probably 20 years. He was nice. I mean, if you didn't come to church, he was there the following day or days, wanting to know how come you wasn't in church. Yeah, I didn't see you in church. How come? You have to give him some story, whether it was the truth or not. He said, well, okay, well, hopefully you're feeling better and you'll be there again. That was the same church my grandfather went to, Grandpa James. Dad told him, he said one time he was out, he had to do something with the pigs. Because I remember the pigs. Because they had probably a dozen pigs out there. And I barely remember them. That's where all those little hog houses are at. Still, as far as I know, they're still there. And I remember one time walking out and seeing the pigs. But anyway, Dad had something to do with the pigs and needed Dad or Grandpa's help. Grandpa said, well, I guess the Lord will forgive me this one time I missed, but I ain't gonna make it a habit. So I guess he never quit. I must have been about 3 or 4 years old, or the time that they was shucking corn. They didn't have a combine. This was hand shucked. Had that little blade thing in your hand. I don't know how you used it. He pulled a little wagon, and I was sitting in the back of the wagon, putting dirt in Mom's purse. That did not go well. She said, what are you doing? I said, I'm just playing. Yeah, putting in dirt in my purse. She made me clean it up. I think I did it several times. But they didn't shell the corn. They just threw it in the corn crib, this whole corn. They give it to the pigs. I don't know. I don't think they had the pigs when they got Bob. But, I still remember seeing he was my step-grandfather, but they called him Grandpa. Grandpa Bill, the last day, because he had black lung disease and he had shingles all at the same time. And shingles was caused from chickenpox. If you've had chickenpox, it comes back possibly later in life as the other thing. And it's worse. They get big sores on you, and you can't scratch them, touch them. There's a lot of pain to them. But anyway, he was feeling really good. And they say the day before you die, you always will get that glow about you where you just really feel great. That's what he was. And we were sitting there talking about it and said, yeah, I said, I'm going to be in high school next year. And I said, I graduate this year from 8th grade. He said, good. We talked a little bit longer, and they said, well, you got to leave. Next day, he was gone. remember going to my great Aunt Alma funeral. And I went to Grandma Clara's funeral. Oh, let's see. I went to my great uncle Tom's. You go down to his house, him and Aunt Alma's, and he was sitting in his chair. He was always reading the Bible. Never saw him not reading the Bible. If it was a Sunday, he excused himself. He said, I'm sorry, but he says, I have to go to church. He said, hopefully I'll see you later. About an hour or so later, he'd come back. He'd go right back. He'd visit a little bit and then go right back to reading his Bible. But they're buried down there in Ozark too. Because Aunt Alma is Mom's mother's sister. So was Aunt Kit. Mom was always trying to get me to get close to Aunt Kit. She says, you need to get close to your Aunt Kit. She said, she's got money. She said, you get close to her and she'll maybe give you some money. I said, Mom, I'm not going to do that. I said, I'm not going to get close to her, just get some money. I said, I like Aunt Kit. I said, but I'm not going to do that. I remember the time they told me that they had the kitchen here, like this room, and kind of off to the side between the wall was the bathroom, the 2-stall bathroom. And they was them and I guess it was one of the other sisters. I can't remember who it was. But she had excused herself to go to the bathroom. Well, she'd been gone a half hour or an hour. They hadn't heard anything. So they walked in there and she was dead, sitting on the toilet.
How'd she die?
Natural causes.
Too big of a bowel movement?
I don't know. It didn't say that she just died. They found her dead, sitting on the toilet. But, there's a lot of others. I remember going to the worst memory I have, and that still nags me today, and it still rips me apart because I didn't do what I should have done. And that was at the time of my mom being sick. She had she had cancer from down in here and inside.
Ovarian?
Yeah. And she was suffering bad. She'd gotten worse, and I'd already seen her bad because she couldn't sit up. She couldn't stand because it was eating her from the bottom. And she was in such pain that whatever she did, it hurt. So they'd taken her to the specialist. And they basically told her, yes, it was terminal. There's nothing they could do. Dad went up and saw her. It was like that, 2 peas in a pod. And you saw one, you saw the other. And Bob, Phyllis, took their 2 kids up there. But at the time of all this, me and Shelley was in the process of getting a divorce. So that was weighing on me. And I regret today because I never went up there to say goodbye. Didn't take Matt and Sarah up there so they could say goodbye. I apologized to both of them just a while back. I said, I'm sorry I didn't take you up there to see your grandma and grandpa, or your grandma die, so you can, pay your last respect. Matt said, oh, I see. He said, that's okay. He said, I know what she's going through. I said, you did? He said, yeah. He said, Mom told me. I said, oh. I said, I just feel guilty over it. I said, I prayed about it and prayed about it. I said, I've never got a release from it. I said, it's still haunting me and tearing me apart now. I remember the funeral. So anyway, I'll quit there.
What were your grandparents like? You can
Loving, caring, compassionate, understanding, helpful.
This is on both sides?
You say grandparents.
Yeah, your grandparents.
Well, I didn't know my true grandparents. Grandpa James died a few days before they got me.
Mm-hmm.
His wife died years. I think she might have died at childbirth. I can't remember. I'm thinking that Mom said one time she was like 6 or 7 years old when her mom died. So I never saw her. I did see my Grandpa Bill and Grandma Clara. Clara was my mom's stepmom. And she kind of pissed Mom off because she was married at the time to Grandpa James. And my mom asked Clara, she said, now when you die, you want to be buried up here with James? Or you want to be buried down at Ozark? Or you want to be buried at? No, she said, I want to be married or buried next to James. He said, okay. She said, because if you don't, she said, you're really going to piss me off. Well, she got remarried to the same guy she'd already been married to the first time, Bill. And there for years, Mom was thoroughly pissed off at her. But we couldn't open up Christmas presents. First of all, we couldn't open them up till Christmas morning, which was fine. But we always waited on Grandpa Bill and Grandma to come down from Ziegler. Except one time. And we was having a blizzard. And we all said, ain't no way, it's too bad out for them to be up here. We had no more opened up all the gifts, and they showed up. Boy, did we feel horrible. I said, we didn't really think you were going to be here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have opened them. I said, oh, it's okay. So they unloaded all their gifts. I do remember the one time that we went down there to visit at their first house in Ziegler. And I woke up the next morning and said, I never saw Grandma and Grandpa. My mom said, yeah, you did. I said, no, I didn't. She said, yeah. She said, you slept all the way through it. She said, never even opened your eyes. She said, we picked you up, took you out of the car, carried you in there, and laid you down. We got ready to leave. We picked you back up, carried you out to the car, and come home. I said, well, next time wake me up. But every spring vacation, I was down there, which was probably half a dozen times. They'd ask Bob, you want to go down there? Nope, I ain't going down there. He never did go down there. I did. I was that close. But,
Did you know your dad's parents?
I knew his mom, Grandma Nora. She was in the same funeral home that me and Shelley spent our wedding night at. That big 3-story building or house down there, or building. It's no longer there, it burnt down. In fact, 2 of the relations was in there at the same time. My dad's Uncle Bill, I think that's easy. Yeah, it was his dad's brother, Bill, which is Shorty's father and Don's father. He's buried up there at Richview. And I only met him like once, maybe twice, but I remember what he looks like. And he was on the first floor, and Grandma was up there on the third floor. This was an old building at the time, but my Uncle Leonard put her in there, which pissed off my dad and Uncle Harold because he never asked their permission. He just did it because they lived there in Ashley, right across railroad tracks, and so we go down there once every so often. We'd visit with her. I don't remember her funeral though. His dad's, I think he died years before Grandpa James died. Can't remember. That's about as far back as our family tree goes that I know of. I think there's one more limb up there, but he's buried somewhere in some Catholic, I think it's Catholic cemetery. Bob was telling me where it was at. I went out there and couldn't find it. So, but on their sons, no, they had 3 sons: Uncle Leonard, Uncle Harold, and Dad. Well, Uncle Leonard had 2 sons, Gerald and Lester. Lester retired from the railroad, and Uncle Leonard turned to drinking. And he'd have a quart fruit jar, and that's what he drank out of. And you go down there, and most of the time he was drunk, and you didn't want to mess with him when he was drunk. But Aunt Ruby, she was very nice and sweet and laid back. She loved to talk, and she knew probably more of the family tree than anybody. And then there was Uncle Harold. He married Mabel. They had Jean, Pat, Melvin Lee, Steve, Sharon, and Christy. They had 6 kids. Last time I heard, Uncle Gene is down in Phoenix with his family. It was up in Wyoming, but when his son and daughter moved down there, they went down there. He's married to the Japanese girl, and she's fun to be around. You ever get a letter from her, she writes just the way she talks. You kind of have to sit there and say, what's that say? Oh, okay, now I know what that says. Okay, now what does this say? It takes you like 3 hours to read a letter. But she was comical. You know, when Uncle Dan would drop Mom into the swimming pool, just pretty much every time we go out there, right when we left, Mom would change her clothes, be all raring to go. Uncle Dan would sneak around, grab her, and crop her. She did not like that. She jumped up. So one time, we got ready to leave, she said, "Where's Dan? I don't see Dan. I'm not going anywhere till I see Dan." Dan said, "I'm right here." A few minutes later, Mom was in the pool. She said, "How'd you do that?" "Oh, I just do it."
So, okay, branch by branch, walk me through your family tree. So you've got, say, the names of your parents, and then
Okay.
start with your mom and do her side, her siblings, and her parents, and her
Well,
her
I don't
stuff.
know that much of her siblings. There's on mom's side. There's
Well, first say her name.
was Alma Alline. She hated the name Alma, but she was named after Aunt Alma. So she never went by Alma. She always went Aline. She has a stepsister called Eileen. Eileen. Mom's was Aleen. They get along fine. And then she had Aunt Alma, Aunt Kit. She had another aunt that lived down there in Ozark, kind of up on the hill. I met her once, maybe twice. She had grapes along this old fence of hers. We go down there and eat some of her grapes. She was nice and sweet too. And then her mom's, I'm trying to think of her mom's name. Her maiden name was Whitaker. And as far as I know, that's where it stops. What is her first? I cannot think of my mom's first name right off the bat. And then there's Mom. And then there's me and Bob. If you want to get technical, it would stop at Mom, because we are grafted in.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's side, you have my dad Melvin. His father was
What was his middle name?
Carl, same as mine.
Oh, okay.
His dad's middle name was C also, but it stood for Cyrus. Robert Cyrus. He had 3 sons: Leonard, Uncle Harold, and Dad. And between the 3 sons, let's see, Uncle Leonard had 2, Uncle Harold had 6, and Mom and Dad had 2. So how many is that? A dozen?
10. 2, 2, and 6.
Yeah. And then after me, it comes you guys, Aunt and Sarah and Dalton, Josh and Alicia. After that comes Travis and Elijah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the family tree.
What about your cousins?
Well, they would be Uncle Harold's kids.
Well, you said both of your uncles had kids.
Yeah.
What?
Well, they would be my nephews and nieces.
No, they'd be your cousins.
Anyway, what about them?
But anyways, name them and who they belong to.
Okay, there's Gene, belonged to Uncle Harold.
Was he married?
Yes. Married a Japanese girl called Mickey, or Minako.
Mm-hmm.
Her father disowned her because she was marrying an American. Then comes Patty. She was married to Dan. Last name was Hartung, Hartung. After that comes Melvin Lee. He's now deceased. And he died in Florida because his wife at the time wouldn't let the rest of the family come down and see him. Wouldn't even let him in the house. Wouldn't even let them in the house. So he died. He had 2 sons. I know he had 1. And I can't think of Well, Melvin Lee was married like 3 times. He married his first wife, and I cannot think of her name. She was from up north in Illinois. He's always thought she had some. She's always smacking her lips when she eats. She go, and someone brought it up, and she says, "Oh," she said, "that's my false teeth." She said, "They don't sit right." Oh, okay. And after, let's see, after that, Melvin Lee divorced her, married the babysitter. So they was married for a little while. Then he divorced the babysitter, married the one that she had when he died. And then after Melvin Lee comes Stephen. He works out there at the Army post, same as Pat did. I'd say she's retired too. I'd say Steve may be retired too. He's only about a year younger than me. Civil service jobs. And he married the colonel's daughter. And he invited me one time for supper. And somehow or another, I think she burned the rolls. After that, I never would live it down. I said, "Hey, you want to fix some more of them burnt rolls?" She said, "Shut up." I said, "I'm just joking with you." I said, "I thought they were pretty good." She said, "Yeah, pretty good for burnt rolls, huh?" I said, "Yeah." I said, and then they have, I think they had 2 daughters, 2 girls. They didn't have any sons that I know of. After Steve comes Sharon. Last time I heard, she was down in Wichita, Kansas. She had, I think, 2 daughters also. And then after that comes Christy, or Christian Lenora Kane. She was named after, I guess, Nora too, except it's Lenora, Lenora. She's kind of the troublemaker of their side. Always in trouble, always giving out rumors, true or false, either good or bad, mostly bad side. She was married once or twice. I don't know whether she had any kids or not. It's been years since I've talked to anybody. I know Pat, they had to remove part of her heel because there was something wrong with it. Might have been cancerous, I don't know. Or Aunt Ruby, or Aunt Mabel died from, I think, AIDS. She got raped. She came home one night. This color guy had crawled through the window. When she walked in, he grabbed her, fought with her, and raped her. And she found out she had AIDS. And she died from it. But I didn't get to see her funeral either. I was going to go out there, and she said, "Well, they've already closed the coffin. They won't open it back up." I said, "Well, then I'm not coming then." I said, "I've never heard of that. You can't open up the coffin. Let somebody see him for the last time." Of course, I never went to Uncle Harold's side either. He'd start talking, and he would just continuous talking. He called me Jim Skin. Where he come up with that, I don't know, but I go out there to visit, and we sit out there in the front porch, just talk and talk and talk and talk. Our Aunt Mabel, she'd go play bingo pretty much every night. But me and him, we'd sit there on the porch, just talk up one side and down the other side. She used to send us Christmas cookies and candies and stuff for Christmas. different varieties, and they was always good. She was a good cook, really good cook. And I'd go out there, and she'd invite all the family down, and we'd sit there and have a big old meal. But after christening, there's no more. Then comes Dad, me and Bob, and it's done.
Okay. Did you ever find out anything surprising about our family tree?
Yeah, Dad was married 3 times.
Yeah, that would be
and kept it
surprising.
a secret.
Did your mom know?
That's what I was just getting ready to say. I don't know whether, if she did, she never brought it up. The only thing she ever brought up was where they used to live. Lived over there on Harrison, right there on 4th and Harrison, where that vacant lot is. Used to be an apartment house there. Well, it caught on fire, burned it to the ground. Then they moved up there. That was before my time.
Did we have any family members who you guys didn't talk about due to some kind of like event, whether like a crime, a character flaw, anything like that?
No.
Okay. Where are your parents buried?
My mom and dad is buried out in Oakwood Cemetery in Mount Vernon. So is my grandpa James.
Do you know the burial spots for any of your other family members? And if so, who and where?
I don't know where our Uncle Harold or Aunt Mabel's buried at. I don't know where my cousin Don is buried at. Me and Sharon went to that funeral. It was Don and his wife Winnie. And Sharon was always preaching to him. Because he'd swear. He'd say, God's this and God's that. She said, you better get yourself right, because she said, someday you're going to meet.
Your cousin Sharon or mom?
Mom.
Oh, okay.
And he just kind of laughed it off, you know. But he was happy-go-lucky. He was fun to be around. He was, you know. He retired from the railroad too. Same railroad that Lester retired from. Same railroad that Uncle Leonard retired from. The old L&N, Louisville and Nashville Railroad. That's that last railroad going toward your house. The last railroad. That was the old L&N. Back when they used to have passenger trains. It'd stop there. Mom got on it one time. She had to go to some event for Eastern Stars. Dalton brought up, said, what was that, a cult? I said,
Sounds like
no.
a cult.
I said, they didn't have cults back then. I said, it was just kind of the thing for women. I'm not really sure. It was like the spinoff from the Masons. Oh, okay. You sure it wasn't a cult? I said, no. I said, shut up about it.
They were in there with their lights out, candles lit, standing in a circle.
Well, she was there for a year. She was the head of the Eastern Stars. It was like kind of you'd serve your term, and you was done. You could still go, but you just wasn't up into the hierarchy. What was the question anyway? Oh, that
Burial spots.
Yeah. I know, not the exact, but pretty much where Uncle Tom and Aunt Elma's buried at. They're buried down there at Ozark. And they was just kind of up the hill a little ways from the road. Her mom is buried a little bit farther back, but basically right behind them. It's like a whole bunch of rows before you get to her. So, I think that's about it. Oh, I know where my great uncle Bill is buried at over there, Ozark, or not Ozark, Richview. I've got some aunts and uncles. I don't know how they're tied into the tree because I only met him once or twice. Can't think of his name. I don't know whether she was his daughter or sister or what, but her name was Mary, and they had a little kind of like a hamburger stand. So you go in and sit down, and they'd fix chicken. Boy, they had the best fried chicken you could eat. And we go up there and eat. But they've been gone for a number of years, probably 15 years. I think they're buried over there at the Centralia Cemetery. Where at, I have no idea. I'm not even sure where the Centralia Cemetery is at. Never been there. But that's pretty much it.
Are there any specific family heirlooms that you inherited?
Yeah, my little dresser in here, white dresser in the bathroom. I had some old Bibles, like 100 years or older. They got when we were cleaning out Grandma Nora's shed. Oh, my great grandfather. Is that right? No, my grandfather Robert Cyrus and Grandma Nora, they're buried up there in Nashville at that cemetery along the highway. I forgot about them. I don't know where I don't know where my cousin Lester's buried at. Don't know where Aunt Ruby's. Well, Aunt Ruby, oh yeah, Aunt Ruby and Uncle Leonard is buried out there at Memorial Gardens along the highway there by Woodlawn. That's where they're buried at, and they're hard to find. But they're alongside one of the little gravel roads, but you drive right by them and never see them. But that's it.
Heirlooms?
Oh, heirlooms. I've got an old toolbox, wooden toolbox out there in the shed that come from my dad.
That bed.
Oh yeah, my mom's bed. Which waver's making me cough would stop. That picture up there with the ducks. Got that. I haven't been able to find, I don't know what I did with it. It's a lamp, not very big, it's about this tall, and it's made like a old water thing, you know, where you'd have to pump it to get the water to come out. It's designed like that. I made in wood shop. I got that. Where it's at, I don't know. Probably with my cane.
And your license and your...
Yeah, lost and found spell. Got an old army tent that I got from my Uncle Harold one time when he was out there, because at one time he was in charge of the distribution out there, and you go out there and Randy goes and we picked up an old army helmet, some canteens with the belt, some shirts, not shirts, they was more of a light coat, and this army tent. So I got the army tents out there in the shed. Where at out there, I don't know. I don't know where it used to be. should be out there in a tub. About this big around, but this high. But that was the one. Last time I remember sleeping in it, we was in our backyard there at the house. And everybody, Bob and Lee said, come on, let's go sleep outside. We wouldn't be out there 10 minutes and I got an old bathroom. He never would come back. We'd sleep out there, but he was sleeping in his bed. So the next time he said, yeah, you want to sleep in the tent again? You never slept in it the last time. Oh, no. I'll do it this time. I said, yeah, sure you will. I said, you will end up back in your house. Exactly what happened. 5-10 minutes later, he was gone. We was still there. We slept there all night.
You and Uncle Bob?
No, me and Steve, my cousin Steve. Bob might have been there. Melvin Lee wasn't. Melvin Lee was kind of a, you never knew what he was. I mean, we was up there, or down there in the area of the, like Crab Orchard Lake, in that area. And a deer ran across the road. He said, stop. You can stop. He said, yeah, let me out. He said, I'm going to catch that deer. I said, you ain't going to catch that deer. What are you going to do if you do it? I'm going to eat it. I said, Melanie, I said, you're nutting a fruitcake. You ain't about to go catch the deer, let alone kill it. I said, you're something else. He come up with the shelled corn on top of mashed potatoes and white gravy. He's the one that started doing that. After that, I started doing it. I still do it. Every time I go to the buffet, I get mashed potatoes, put some corn on top of it, and throw on some white gravy. Mix it up. So, I already forgot the question again.
Oh, heirlooms.
Oh, I think that's pretty much the heirlooms that I can think of.
So you don't have to go into too much detail with this, but real quick, do the basic, whatever you know of your biological family tree.
That's going to be short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I had a biological brother, Steve. He's a year younger than me. We hung out as before ever knowing that we were adopted, or at least before I did. Somebody said that he knew that we was adopted and we were brothers. But he never said. And he was always kind of wild and go. Always daring to do something. We were close friends, hung out a lot. His mom and dad at the time ran the McLaughlin restaurant right across from Oakwood Cemetery. That's a big building. It's right now, it's unoccupied. Matter of fact, it's, where Gilles is at, that building just on the other side of it, that's where McLaughlin's restaurant was. Well, Steve had a brother too. I only met him once. That's been 50 years plus, so I don't know whatever happened to him. And then there's Mary, and what's the other sister's name?
Cecilia.
Yeah, Cecilia. And then there was James.
These are all siblings?
Yeah. Because I was supposed to be named Tommy. And so then there's another brother that lives up in New York State, so I was told. And he doesn't want anything to do with the family. Steve had to.
What was his name? Oh, you don't know.
If they said, I can't remember. I don't think they ever told me what his name was. Just that he wasn't interested in acknowledging or talking to the family.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a lot of, I think, incest in that family. pleasing incest, but not rape incest. I think that's what's wrong with Cecilia, because she'd bring it up every time. And anyway, my biological brother Steve, got killed out in California in a motorcycle accident. Because he'd run like a bat out of hell on that thing. And one of his daughters called to let me know. And that's the last one and only time I ever talked to any of them. Haven't heard from them at all. So.
And then what was your biological mom's name?
Is it Gertrude?
Is it Bertha?
Yeah, Bertha. I don't know what my dad's biological father's name is.
Did you ever... Oh, you said you met him when you was like a teenager, right?
Yeah, I met him one time. And my mom and dad was not happy with that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was coming home from mowing umpteen yards, all hot and sweaty. I was headed to the home. And right there where the gymnasium is, which was at the bottom of the big hill, you come around that corner, and that's where he come up behind me. He said, "Yeah, I'm your biological. I'm your father." And I said, "No, you're not." I said, "My father lives right up here in this house." He turned around and walked off. The only one time I met him. But they say when he died, he didn't have a gray hair on him.
Was he young?
I think they said he was 72.
Oh.
It's not old, but it's not young either.
Yeah. Are you done with that?
Yep.
Okay. This next section is looking back. Okay, looking back on your life so far, what are you most proud of?
My kids.
What did you discover in the last decade or two that you wish you had discovered sooner?
Maybe that I had known that Steve was my brother, my biological brother, and that I had had more time to spend with him and my sisters. Maybe know my mom and dad better. That's pretty much.
Know your biological mom and dad better?
Yes. It was far too late when I met her. I just couldn't bond with her. But she was way up in age, I think in her 80s. And she was constantly smoking, which was a big turnoff to me.
I remember their house smelled really bad that time we went over there.
But I'm sure she probably tried. And she probably regretted. But she didn't want to give up her kids. The sheriff took them from her because they couldn't provide for all of them. They had like 6 kids. And that's how come me and Steve got adopted out.
You ready for the next question?
Yeah.
What do you think has been the greatest invention during your lifetime?
Computer.
So real quick, what was it? Because I know that computers and cell phones and stuff, they came to be in your lifetime. So what was it like with like the technology coming in?
Well, it didn't start until I was probably late 20s. That's when some of the video games started coming out. and it was just a new toy. It was something that I hadn't seen, wanted to check out. That's about as far as it went with me.
Was it mind blowing?
No.
What about the computer and the internet and stuff?
Yeah, it's, it's, I don't know whether it's mind blowing or not. It's just, it's amazing.
Yeah. What lessons do you recall most that you learned from your parents?
Stay out of trouble.
You still you stay in trouble.
Oh, I did forget part of the family tree.
Okay.
Shorty's side.
Who is Shorty?
Shorty was my great aunt. No, our aunt.
On which side?
My dad's side.
Oh, okay.
She was the daughter to Bill, which was the brother to Grandpa Robert. She married Doit. He worked for an oil company. They lived out there in the Fruit Bowl at the time. And when Mom would go in for surgeries, we would stay out there with them. They had 3 sons. There's Wayne, the oldest, Bruce is the middle one, and Billy as the youngest. Bruce programmed computers all around the world for oil companies and others. Wayne, last time I heard, ran a grocery store company. Bill was a band director. He had his band in the Tournament of Roses parade not once but twice. When Shorty died, or Doit died before Shorty did, they kicked Bill out of the house because he was still living there and he's up in his 30s. They said, "No, you're out. House is up for sale." Doit always smoked cigars. Never saw him not with a cigar. That's what he liked. But anyway, they got transferred out to, first I think it was Durango, which is a southern suburb of Denver. And then he was there for a little while and then went up to Denver. And that's where I think they spent the rest of their time. Winnie ended up moving out there, which was Shorty's sister-in-law, because she was married to her brother, Don. Now, Bill, as far as I know, have no kids. I don't know whether Wayne or Bruce does at all. I haven't talked to any of them in years and years. Been years, it's probably been 15 years at least since I've talked to Shorty. Of course, they're both gone now, so I ain't gonna be talking to her now. Anyway, that's on Dad's side of the family.
Okay, in the looking back category again.
Okay.
I mean, you can always go back if you need to add anything else. I don't care.
Well, that way, in case somebody wants to put
well, yeah, I
three
can.
Together, you know what direction to go.
Right, I'll clip all of that together, and I'll probably
sit there and scratch. Now, what the hell?
No, probably
now.
Probably what I'm gonna do at some point. I'm gonna have you draw it out, and I'm gonna just
have Travis.
No, I'm not talking about drawing the nice tree. I'm talking about circle, line, line. Anyways, not right now, though. What were you doing when you were my age? I'm 29, by the way, because you don't seem to know age.
I was still married to my first wife, Shelley.
How old were you when you got married to her?
She was 17. I was like 21, 22. because she used to come home from school and I said, how'd you do? Oh, I don't know. I said, what? She said, oh, shucky darn. I did do this and shucky darn didn't do that, or this happened or that happened. That's where I got that phrase at. So if you ever hear me say it, that's where it comes from, her. I remember our cat, Muffin, solid black cat. She had many friends, girlfriends, but the one girlfriend, which was, I think her name was Kathy, she come over and Muffin just loved her to death. Our couch wasn't about this tall off the floor. He go back behind the couch, underneath the couch, and when she sat down, of course she always had her legs bare. He'd sit there and do this, and she'd look down. Who's doing that? I don't know. She no more gets that down, and he'd go. That cat drove her nuts. And she, next time she come over, he'd do the same thing every time. She said, how come he can't do it? I said, I don't know. I said, you're the only one he does it to. He said, I don't know whether he likes you that much more or what. But I woke up one time and he was sitting there on top of my head. I was asleep and he had his paw hanging down like that. I said, okay, this is the one and only time. I picked him up and threw him across the room. And the room wasn't but about 12 feet from that window right there to the wall. And goes, and out that door. He never come back. He ended up disappearing.
I wonder why.
Well, it was one of them mornings we just got about 6 inches of snow. And the dumbass cat was sitting out there shivering and shaking instead of getting underneath one of the underpinnings and where it was, at least the wind was off of him. That's okay. So I built him a little cat house. Insulated it. I mean, it was nice. Put him in it. He come around back out. I said, no, threw him back in there and boarded up the front of it. He was in there for about 24 hours and I let him out and he disappeared and never did come back. He was solid black. And then at one time we had a solid white one that we got from some old lady. And she'd sit there and catch mouse and sit eating. And she'd sit there and bouncing around up in the air. I said, no. I said, we're not doing this bit. So I'd give him the muffin. Muffin just pick him up, take him outside, drop him off. But he wasn't going to touch it either. I said, you two are the dumbest cats. We didn't keep that white one very long. We found another older lady that needed a cat, wanted a cat. So that's where it went. Muffin, I don't know where he went. He's long gone by now. Anyways, my dog Apache, he was part Boston Terrier and part Bulldog. Playful, that gun thing. He disappeared too. He followed somebody and never came home. He already done it once. And we found him way up there, not too far from the bowling alley. And we put an ad out. And somebody called us, yeah, we got your dog. We went up there and got him back. Wasn't about a week later and he was gone again. I said, no. I said, we're not going to look for him again just so he can run off. And before that, I had a dog named Teddy. And then I had Patsy. Patsy ended up having to put her down because she got a sore on her leg and she kept gnawing at it. And they told us it's best just to put her down. So I said my goodbyes to her, and they put her to sleep. She's buried out there at Shelley's old house. And then I had a cat named Squeaky. Mom said I treated her like the Dickens. She said, you was always mistreating that cat. Solid black cat. Female. She'd hide out there in the coal bin. Okay, get back to your question. I keep things pop into my head.
That's fine. That's why I don't interrupt. What advice would you give your 40-year-old self?
Next time you're gonna do it right. And don't fuck it up.
If you had to do it all again, would you choose the same career path?
Probably.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to do as far as career?
Not really. Dad was always asking me during high school, what do you want to be? I don't know what I want to be. Well, you better decide. It wouldn't be a little while longer. And he said, well, have you decided what you want to be yet? I said, nope. I just don't know. I said, nothing pops into my head that I really would like to do. Offhand. He bugged me about that for years. I never could come up with an answer. Most of my kids look like me. I guess I got the strong gene. Well, Travis looks...
He looks like you when you were a kid.
Well, he acts like Dalton does.
Yeah.
Got the same mannerisms. He even sounds like Dalton sometimes. Debbie sounds just like you when she calls.
Mm-hmm.
Like last time she called, she says, James? I said, yeah. I said, what are you still up for? She said, what do you mean I'm still up? I said, yeah. I said, I just talked to you. I said, you said you was going to bed. No. She said, you sure you know who you're talking to? I said, yeah, Alicia. No, this is Debbie. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I said, you sound just like Alicia. Oh, that's why you always bring that up. She said, she's going to bed this early? And I said, well, she's got to get up like at 2 o'clock in the morning, go to work. She said, oh, okay. She said, okay. I can understand why she want to go to bed early then.
What amazes you most about society today?
That they can't find anything to get along with. Always have to fight over this or fight over that or disagree about this and disagree about that.
Yeah.
You know, everything's out in the open now. It used to be secretive. Everything's got to sue this and sue that person and sue that person. That's ridiculous.
What is different about things now than when you were younger?
Technology. I mean, we were happy, thrilled, overjoyed just to get outside, ride our bicycles. We on our bicycles most of the time, and as soon as we could get on them after breakfast, we'd leave. And we wouldn't see Mom and Dad again until around lunchtime. And as soon as lunch was over, we were gone again. We didn't come home till it got dark. We was constantly go on our bicycles. Mom wouldn't let us stay in the house. Get your butt outside. It's a pretty day. Fine, that's just what I wanted to do. You know. We was happy with just the toys that we got. Didn't have to have all these electronic games that people just get totally enthralled in them. You can't even carry on a conversation. Just a minute, I gotta finish this level here. I don't want to lose it. That's all we had is trucks and cars and toy soldiers and building sets and Tinker Toys. We were girder erector sets. We were hunky-dory to getting that stuff. I mean, our cars and trucks were all metal. Now they're all plastic, pretty much. Cheaply made,
Mm-hmm.
cost more than they did back then,
Yeah.
and they're not near as good. I mean, we used to get Tonka. That was the elite toy back then. You got a Tonka. Now it's Tonka and Earl. Earl's about as good as Tonka. They're metal. You used to get dump trucks and bulldozers and road graders. We were happy-go-lucky. The only time I attempted to stay inside, I built this moon base.
The one in your basement?
Yeah. Put a big piece of plywood down there, put little sides on it, dumped it full of sand, had my model lunar module, had it setting up, had the astronauts out. I was fine with that. But not on a pretty day. No. Out the door. It's not raining. You can go outside now. But Mom, nope, outside. You know the drill. And after that, I set up my racetrack. Sit there for hours and hours racing. Except when it was sunny, out the door. Go ride your bicycle. We didn't have to worry about people, crazy people grabbing you and taking you and doing stuff to you. It wasn't on the news. They just didn't report them. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some around, but you just didn't hear about them.
What do you wish you had made more time for?
My wife.
You say your wife?
Yeah. And my kids.
You talking about Mom or Shelly or both?
Both. I was working 6 days out of the week, every week, 12 hours a day. And totally wore out. Lost the weight though, kept it off. But boy, you paid for it. I did that 3 different times. I was one of only 2 people who could read my boss's writing. Because his looked like Italian. Not what Italian. What kind of language the doctors use? It's not Italian. It's well, they just go.
Oh, shorthand?
And it's like shorthand. It's not called shorthand. It was elongated, but it's the same way doctors write out a prescription.
Right.
Whatever way they do it. I used to know, but now I can't think of it. It was his wife was one and me. And his wife would say, "How in the Sam Hill can you read his writing?" She said, "I'm married to it and I have trouble reading it." I said, "I don't know. I just kind of look at it and take my time, look at it." And I said, "That's all comes out." It's okay.
What do you wish you had spent less time doing?
I'm with my wife and kids. Oh. I don't know. Can't really think of that much of less time I would have. I can't think of anything.
What is your biggest regret?
Not going to seeing my mom and saying goodbye to her. That will always be my number one regret. It just eats you alive. That's what I told Sarah before she started seeing her mom again. I said, "Sarah," I said, "I didn't go say goodbye to my mom. I said, I regret it to this day. I said, it just eats you up. The older you get, the more it eats you up. I said, you can't get it, put it down and walk away. I said, it's just there. I said, your mama has cancer. You need to start spending some time with her. And shortly after that, they started, you know, Sarah apologized. They've been talking ever since. I said, you don't want to carry that around. I said, believe me. I said, I regret having it. I said, if I had to do it all over again, I would do that different. I said, but too late now. Can't change the past unless you go back in time. I said, and I don't have a DeLorean, especially one with a flex capacitor.
What happy memories will you cherish forever?
My car, one of my cars that I had was a 70 or 71 Pontiac Le Mans. 4-speed in the floor. And I traded it off for a 1973 Dodge Charger. Gold flake. And that's what I regret. I wish I had kept that car. I would have had it redone because I attempted to, and it looked like crap because I had got paint remover stuff and poured on the hood. It was starting to come off. And after that, then I got some gold spray paint. And on the can, it looked like it matched up, but when I put it on there, it didn't. I said, shit. But me and Shelley come home from Kansas, from Uncle Harold's house. And I had these big, wide tires. They're about this wide. And had the air shocks. Shocks was, they had an air hose that come out by your rear license plates. You'd sit there and fill it up with, instead of your tire, you'd fill this up. It'd raise those shocks up. Well, apparently, one of mine got a hole in it, or they was cheap. Because about halfway home, I heard the thing go. Of course, the tires stuck out past the fender, so all of a sudden I'm starting to smell rubber, and they're cutting all along the outside of the tire. I barely made it home. I'm surprised it didn't cut right through it.
Is there something that you've never done that you've always wanted to?
No.
You don't want to
go to the Hall of Fame.
You don't want to skydive?
What are you talking about? That guy that I talked to from Hughes, that's what his girlfriend got him to do. He said, I told her, I said, I made a mistake of telling her I'll do one thing. He said, guess what she come up with? Skydiving. I said, you're actually going to do it? She said, well, yeah, I told her I would. I said, I'm not doing bungee jumping. He said, yeah. I said, I don't want. I said, who measures that daggum thing to know I don't know how long, what the length is? I said, my luck, I said, I'll hit.
Yeah.
I said, I'll get on a daggum helicopter and airplane before I go do any bungee jumping. Because somebody's got to test that weight and the strength and the length. I said, if they're off a few inches or whatever, and you're going down, tough luck then, because you're going to go smack. You're going to have a hell of a headache.